Alright boys, we're running behind schedule, so let's get straight to it. In today's video, we're going to be going over some picks for the top 10 most underrated champs in patch 14.7. These champions have been overshadowed by the titans we covered last week, so if you're interested in some spicy picks, then you've come to the right place. Starting off in the top lane, Garen has been finding his way back up the ladder, sitting with a 51% win rate north of Emerald. Pretty decent stuff. His ability to nullify lanes through wave clearing and proxy farming allows him to easily scale up and get pressure for his team. Once you hit level 6 on Garen, you then unlock the ability known as stat checking, where you may now attempt to combo anyone you see, and if they fall below 1/3 HP, you press R and they magically die. This strat will normally be used on junglers because in the early game, laners, and especially solo laners, will have more experience than junglers, thus making it easier for you to duel the jungle boys. The most effective way to play Garen that we have seen comes in the form of 3 steps. Step 1 will be to ban Camille, as she is Garen's literal worst matchup. Step 2 is farm safely or take small trades in lane until you can afford Berserker's Greaves. Step 3 commences once you purchase the boots, and now you can begin to work your way behind enemy lines to proxy. Once you clear the way through proxy, you can then either roam mid or sit in the enemy jungle looking for a pick and repeat. Garen is a highly underrated champion to climb with. Next up, as with all of our videos here on this YouTube channel, do bear in mind that this is just a suggested champs list. Click on the link in the description box below right now to sign up to GameLeap.com and master every single champion covered in this happy little video. We've got hundreds and hundreds of guides authored by challenger coaches for every role and scenario you can think up. We're talking macro guides, champion specific courses, learning deep dives, and more. So again, hit the link below right now and sign up. It's gonna be sweet. Up next in the top lane, we have Gragas. This champion is considered underrated because of his functionality in the top lane. He is a stall bot. The entire point of lane phase with Gragas is that he has literally one losing matchup, which is versus Olaf. Other than that, you can freely scale and neutralize any matchup that comes your way, even versus ranged champions. For lane, you want to start off by taking very little trades, as your weakness in lane is your small mana pool. Last hit as many creeps as you can, and if possible, try to crash on wave 3 and base for tier. Buying tier early will cover up your only weakness and allow you to completely win the lane through barrel poke or through sustaining all the damage enemies throw at you with your passive healing. This obnoxious champ design creates a wall in top lane where you can then transition over to more tank stats with Frozen Heart and Kernick, or to a more damage heavy build with Rod of Ages, Seraphs, and Cosmic Drive. Gragas' belly is really truly underrated in 14.7. In the mid lane, Pantheon is one of our favorite champs to play, as he has very strong laning, excellent roaming potential, and can control the early game to his liking. That being said, he's still at a very low pick rate, so we believe this pick is pretty underrated. For early game tips, we recommend giving in to almost all lane pressure at level 1 and 2. Last hit minions and let the wave crash in. This is to set the wave up for the bounce, and when you hit level 3 on Pantheon, the real fun begins. At level 3, a proper full combo onto any target will deal at least half of someone's HP. Use this pressure to slow push the next few waves until you crash into their turret. From there, you either want to roam to a single side lane or camp in the enemy jungle and kill them with your combo plus ignite. The keynote here is to never leave lane without 5 passive stacks. You need your passive in order to deal the most amount of burst possible. Mid-game will be focused all around your ult and winning side lanes. If you played early game correctly, you should have no problems pushing your way through the side lanes and creating pressure for either the enemy team to play towards you, or you can simply force your way on top of the enemy yourself with Grand Skyfall. Use this OP Spartan to your advantage in mid while you still can. Now prepare yourselves. This next mid lane champion will be controversial among the unwashed masses. He's not seen as very strong, but he has been consistently fed buffs for quite a few patches now. Ryze is our pick for an underrated mid lane mage for 2 reasons. One being that he has literally been force-fed buffs for a while now, as we think Riot wants him to return back into the hands of Faker. And the second reason is because Ahri is currently running rampant right now in solo queue, and in the old days, Ryze was a staple counter to Ahri with his constant wave clear, his innate tankiness to not get picked off by Ahri, and his snare being able to catch Ahri for gank setups. So, anytime you see an Ahri insta-locked on the enemy team, counter with Rise. For early game, start Tier to begin your early stacking, and the build has not changed, so rush Rod of Ages as a first item. In lane, you want to focus on using your EQ to hit the enemy while wave clearing, so hold your E until the enemy mid walks up to CS, and while they are standing near their caster creeps, use EQ on the minions to splash damage on everything in the area. Keep an eye out for your jungler, and think about what they would want to do. If your jungler is considering ganking, then hold back on the EQ shove and let the enemy breathe and push you in, and then bam! Flash E and W them as starting setup CC and let your jungler take care of the rest. Scale up in power, and once you have your Rod of Ages, Seraphs, and Cosmic, you will be an unstoppable battle mage. Disclaimer once again, we know Rise currently has a low win rate, but we believe there is something about this champion others have not yet spied, so if Rise suddenly becomes popular, know that you saw it here first. Next up, in the jungle, this champion is already gaining massive popularity, but we are still not seeing enough of the man, and that is Ivern. Now yes, we included Ivern in our last video on the top 10 champions list, but we feel he still needs more promotion before he gets nerfed. Ivern's ability to be anywhere on the map at any time is truly a playstyle few are permitted to have. Because of how Ivern clears camps, you can easily swing the early game into your favor, and a small tip on how to create easy level difference is to always take the enemy raptors off cooldown. The raptor camp is one of the most valuable camps to steal, as it is the camp many junglers want to take on the way during a full clear, as it's right in the middle of the map. Being able to steal a high XP and efficient camp slowly gets you a level lead, and with it being so easy to mark and then smite, you can get your mid laner to protect you while you take it. The rest of the game is simple, as you simply build support items and play off of objective timers. The hardest part about Ivern is all of the free time you are given, so choose wisely where you want to hover. Another jungle champion that is taking over currently is Gwen. Gwen jungle has always been pretty strong, with its only weakness being early game, as she needs items in order to 1v9. Jungling allows Gwen to avoid the rough matchups she otherwise has in top lane. While her gank potential is subpar, her clearing abilities are pretty fast, so stay on top of objective monsters to win the game. The main objective of Gwen's early game is to path to the volatile laners and hope that you can pick up a few free early kills here and there. Your goal is to get Nashor's Tooth as fast as possible, as that is your biggest spike. From there you can completely win almost any 1v1 and sometimes 1v2 if played properly. Your counters are heavy gap close champions such as Bel'Veth, Kha'Zix, and Rengar, so make sure you are aware of enemy pathing and play away from their clears. Gwen jungle currently sits at 0.9% pick rate, so let's get those numbers up. Kogo has been viewed as a pretty weak ADC for a while now, but since the nerfs of all lethality and super range champions, Kogo has found his way back towards the top, but quite a few folks are late to the party. Many players carry the misconception that Kogo is only good with a Lulu attached to him at the hip, but that simply isn't the case. While it is nice to have a moving steroid caster, Kogo's main weakness was the fact that his lane phase was too punishable by range, but now with crit ADCs also needing time to scale, Kogo can slot right in alongside them with any support. Early game is simple: farm safely and use W at times when the enemy has nothing stopping you from pushing forwards. Using Ghost aggressively is a big part in playing Kogo's early lane phase right, as you only have short windows to fight and give yourself breathing room. Once you get your core of tier 2 boots and Blade of the Ruined King, you can easily take control of skirmishes. Anytime you pop W at this point, enemies are basically forced to back away until it goes on cooldown, so once again, do not be too trigger happy with it. Hold it until you think you can free fire. The later stages of the game are simple. You scale and play teamfights like a standard backline ADC and shred everything in front of you. Simple enough. Kogo is underrated because people are too trigger happy with his W. If you get the timing right, get through the lane phase, you should be perfectly rolling for some free LP. This next ADC pick is going to be underrated, but it's mainly because of the build, and that is Lethality Kalista. If any of you guys are keeping up with pro play in the LPL, a lot of ADCs are going Lethality Kalista as a way to completely dominate lane and get early objectives. Equipping Hail of Blades, Q-maxing and slapping on lethality items is their solution to completely blocking out any enemy bot lane that wishes to come their way. The early game goes something like this: take very aggressive short trades, getting 3 autos off with Hail of Blades, then finishing the trade with a QE to rip out all 4 stacks. This does about 300 to 500 damage itself in the span of a couple of seconds, which is honestly pretty mental. Make sure you are positioning aggressively in lane, as you want to constantly poke the enemy with Q, as that is the ability you are maxing, and with Serrated Dirk, it packs a punch. The goal here is to communicate with your jungler that you need them to stack early dragons, or else you will eventually get outscaled. But before that happens, you hold all of the power in your hands, as even without your jungler, if you auto the dragon enough times, your E will outsmite the junglers. Use this underrated build to finish games in 15 minutes. Lastly, we come to supports, and there is only one champion that comes to mind when we think of underrated, and that is Alistar. Somehow, everyone has seemed to have forgotten how OP it is to have a 10-second cooldown Malphite ult. Now, for the longest time, the support meta was dominated with poke ADCs and mages, but we can come full circle where enchanters and Nautilus are back. Alistar stands out from the crowd because of his innate healing in his passive to heal up the enchanter poke, while also being able to force engage and one-shot them with his ADC. And if the bot lane becomes too boring, you can pack up and roam, as most ADCs cannot dive with an enchanter anyway because they don't have a tank for the turret. Another reason is because support items for tanks are pretty bad right now, as Trailblazer is a bait item, and a lot of tank items are getting the nerfs they have been avoiding for so long. But this is where Alistar's ultimate shines, as you don't need to fully itemize tankier options because your ult makes you the biggest tank for the duration of the fight. This lets you rush items such as Knight's Vow and Locket, two items that aren't that great in tank stats, but immaculate for peeling and soaking damage for your carries. Use Alistar to push your LP forwards and climb. And that is what we're going to do it for our happy little list. Now, we almost definitely missed a whole bunch of champs that you guys take as underrated in 14.7, and we'd love to hear about it down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Once again, make sure to hit the link down below at the top of the video description to visit GameLeap.com and sign up. We have hundreds and hundreds of guides covering every facet of League of Legends you can possibly think of, and it would be incredible to have you. So, we'll see you over there. For now, thanks for watching, and we shall catch you all in the next one.